Hi, welcome to the 9th lesson in our beginner guitar course. I want to get us up to Ode to Joy today. You'd probably get here in about 3 or 4 weeks of practice as we've worked through the Leonard book now, page 6, 7, 8, and 9, learning the B and the E strings. Simultaneously, we've been working on some low notes. We've been playing some power chords. We've worked through several chords down all the way to A minors and E minors, which we developed into E majors and E7s as well. We've played some melodies up on the strings. So we're getting all around the guitar, but here we're focusing on the rudiments and the theoretical aspect of guitar playing. You'll probably know that a lot of rock guitarists almost brag that they don't read music. That seems to be a badge of honor for some people, and a lot of students seem to think that means, well then I guess I never have to read music. But almost all of my best students over the years are the ones who have completed at least one level of Leonard and spent some considerable time learning how to read their notes and get around in the open position learning melody reading. It's not absolutely necessary, but certainly a really good part of your guitar playing and your musicality overall. One of the reasons I will often emphasize it when people ask why they need to know the notes and their names is because guitar might not be the last instrument they want to play. When they can read notes, they can go play trumpet or piano or anything else with that knowledge. Right here I've written again what we should keep always constantly in mind. Probably all of this is memorized now, but I'll often write it right into your book, right at Ode to Joy. I'll draw the guitar, show you where your open B, C, and D notes are, then the open E with the F and G on the first string. Often I'll draw a staff again, showing you every good boy deserves fudge, which places all the letters on the lines, and F-A-C-E, placing all the letters in the spaces. On Ode to Joy, there's a C chord written above the song. As I mentioned before, when you're learning these two strings, there becomes a habit of just comparing notes. You're going from a lower to a higher to a higher to a lower, and people will dispute me that they don't need to know their names. They'll just actually tell me, little kids will tell me, oh, I don't do that, I just see which one's lower and higher. But that's all relative and can get you off on the wrong foot easily. When you see the C chord above this, a lot of times people will just start on a C note here. They'll presume that that's labeling this note. If you use face or your knowledge of jingle bells, you'll remember that that's E. It's not the C. When they write a C there, it's for the accompanying harmony. So while these notes are being played, there's a C chord in the background of the first bar and a G in the background of the next. Those chords are harmonizing the melody, but the names of those chords are not telling you the names of the notes. As I mentioned, my goal with the book is to get good at reading notes, not necessarily to become a master of Ode to Joy, and especially not to memorize it. But as a musician, those are some of the things that you actually will want to do a lot of times. One of my weaknesses probably has been to read lots and lots of songs, but not memorize very many. I'm not looking for a way to memorize this, but for ways to make it much more familiar and easier to play. Again, I would want this written many times in your book. It should be in your notebook, maybe on the inside front cover of Leonard, definitely on a reference page when I'm reading a song. So then I can identify these notes. F-A-C-E tells me I'm on an E note, and that's my open first string. You see it going up to F, up to G, so I go E, F, and G. One of the things I'd like to do with this is look at the fact that it's built upon a C scale. Although you're not starting on C, C is the key center of the song. The C scale is used, and we will be returning and finally ending on this C note. So you could practice playing C, D, E, F, and G. And back down. C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C. What about this B note? It doesn't sound great in the key of C as a starting note, but it will be nice if I've landed on C to lean over to B and come back. So here's C, G back down, C, B, C. You hear that C going down to B returns very nicely to C. There are no B's in this song. That's actually a nice thing to know. I mentioned that you'll probably have times where you're confusing your C's and your B's. So sometimes on a song like this, I will write no B's. That's a really nice thing to know when people are going to be deciding between the two of them. Come right into the song knowing that we don't have any. So again, we see C, D, E, F, G as our scale. What I'd like to do in this song is isolate a few scale portions and see a couple of themes of the song. As we saw in World Beat, the use of a scale. So here we go, climbing up from E to F to G. They repeat the G note and then come down, G, F, E, D, all the way to C. So coming right back down that scale, that whole chunk will do that. Then this C goes back up to the E, C, D, E, and E comes back down to D. So we have nice scale portions in here. We have E, F, G, G, F, E coming back down, but continuing even to the D and C. So we went up from E to G, and back down from G, all the way to C. We came back up from C to E, and back down from E to D. That's one of the main ideas of this theme. By the way, I didn't mention it, but this is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Ode to Joy is the theme from it. It's used in many hymns, and it's something you'll hear around Christmas. It's also one song that I would put on a little list of repertoire, and then in the future you'd have a list of songs from the book that you enjoy. You don't have to practice every page or hunt out the songs you like. You'll have 2 or 3 from every section marked out that you can come back to. So the other theme that I enjoy about this is the repetition. We do this little tap dance on the E to get started, so it's E, and then that scale up from E. We hit a high G and hit the G twice, so it's E, E, up to G, G, down the scale to C, C, up to E, E, and back down to D, D. So I play 2 E's, and the scale up, I'll hit the G twice and come down. When I get down, I'll hit that C twice and go back up, hit the E twice, and the D twice. So it's either going up and down a scale or hitting a note twice. We're kind of hitting our peaks and landing on them like you land on the C, hit it again and go up. Land on the G, hit it again and go down. So without trying to memorize, E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, E, D, D. That's a unifying principle that I would use to learn the song. And as a sight reading example, I'd probably play all the way through that line the very first time I tried the song, just to make myself read all of the notes. When you go through, just actually don't label them, but name them. E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, E, D, D. Depending on your ability, that's a lot of music and you probably don't want to bite that much off. So I'll just isolate a bar at a time. I'll then have you name them. E, E, F, G. Now play them. No, don't play them by memory. Watch them while you play them. So you'd say E, E, F, G, then watching those notes again, E, E, F, G. Continue to make that visual link with your notes. So many people will look at them, name them, plant them in their memory, and then sit down and play them. Then come back and look at the next ones. Always keep in visual contact with your score. Even when a song's memorized, you want to be able to spot where you are in it, because there are times where your mind will slip. I often think of notes to a song like notes to a speech. You would jot down on cue cards the certain things you wanted to speak about. You'd glance at it, you'd know what you want to say, talk for a while, then look at your notes. Again, notes are reminders, and look back and speak again. Your song is like that. These notes are reminders of how the song goes. So keep an eye on it and keep visual contact of where you're going. So, E, E, F, G. Well, try again. E, E, F, G. Okay, you're good. Try the next 4 notes. G, F, E, D. G, F, E, D. G, F, E, D. Okay, let's try them together. E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D. You may remember that we're going down a scale, but I'd still stop you and have you read that note. Stare at it for a while, try to figure it out. Oh, it's on a space, F-A-C. Okay, so 2 C's and a D and an E. Was that easy? Try again. Again. And maybe start back at the beginning, reading again. E, E, F, G. Oh yeah, that's a G again. G, F, E, D. These are the C's. C, C, D, E, E, D, D. That would be about how you would feel reading it. There'd be pauses, time to think on certain notes. Always try to keep your eyes ahead as you're getting better and better at reading a song. Glance ahead and see what's coming. That line then, after you've gotten good at it, you would go on to the second line. I'd have you do the same process. Very soon you'd recognize you're playing the same notes. E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, and then D, C, C at the end. I've only written the last bar of the second line. Learn to contrast those. When people do this by memory, 9 times out of 10, they've memorized this and they start inserting it in the first bar. So keep your wits about you as you read. Make sure you know the difference between the two lines, but definitely do utilize the fact that it's repeating itself and you don't have to slave over each note. One reason to work hard on the first 4 notes and then the first 8 and then the first line is because all of that information is going to be found repeating itself throughout the song. Everything you invest here will pay off as the song goes. Line 1 and 2 are almost identical. Line 4 is identical. This is a hymn form. It's an AABA. So line 1 basically repeats at line 2. There's a new theme or a new thought in line 3. And then line 4 in your book is back to this line. So you would be very good after a while at playing the first line. I'll pretend I'm reading it. E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, E, D, D. Yeah, that's okay. Change that rhythm a little if that's how you hear it. Next line. E, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, C, D, E. Different notes. D, C, C. In practice the first little bit, I'll skip the third line and do the last line because it's the same as the second. Oh, there's that D. Then you can work on the third line. Line 3 is the hardest part of this song for various reasons. For the first thing, it's not running up and down the scale the same way the other lines are. The other thing is you've put in a lot of effort learning the first bar, the second bar, the entire first line, applying that to the second line. Every time you do the song, you'll do the equivalent of one of those lines 3 times for every time you see the third. So it will trail behind. For that reason, one of my thoughts is practice this one 3 times for every time you do the song. Sometimes I even wait for the second week of the song to do this. We'll spend the first week on the first 2 lines and get that theme and then come here. There's some nice patterns here that we can see as well. Remember the beginning of the song started on 2 C's. The second line, 2 C's. Now we're above that. We've moved up from that theme, CC, to start on a DD. You can log that little bit of information as something to remind you as you come to this line what's going to happen. As I've said, I don't want to write in the notes, but once in a while maybe I do. Maybe I'll tell myself this is a D. Don't be fooled by the chord above it, which is a G. So I've got 2 Ds. You go up to an E, so you can see again how notes work relatively. If you found a D, that note above it is the E. This one's right below it, so that's C. If I recognize those right away by sight, that's great. That's how you want your reading. If you don't, you can apply face again. Or if you know D and you can just relate off that, one higher, one lower, you can find those notes. So there's some nice patterns here. D, D, E, C. So I'll have students name that, play it, name this, then try to tell me what's different or what's the same. These 2 bars are identical, except the second note is an F. So I'll have them say that and even emphasize that. D, D, E, C, D, F, E, C. So now again, always watching the notes, not trying to apply memory. It'll be D, D, E, C, D, F, E, C. Okay, D, D, E, C, D, F, E, C. I get it, the second D becomes an F. D, D, there's my double note theme from the beginning of the song. D, D, E, C, D, F, E, C. Okay, now what's here? D, F, E, D. Oh, that's first D, F, E are the same. So now it's this bar repeated, but we end on a D instead of a C. There's this substitution of D's and C's. The song started with 2 C's. This line starts with 2 D's. These bars are ending with C's. This one ends with D. D, F, E, D. So I practiced this one a few times. D, F, E, oh no, not C, D this time. D, F, E, D. Okay, D, F, E, D, D, F, E, D. When they're comfortable with that, I'll come back and compare it. You had D, F, E, C, then D, F, E, D. Okay, one ends on C, one on D. D, F, E, C, D, F, E, D. Now I'll come back. D, D, E, C. This changes to an F. D, F, E, C. The ending changes. D, F, E, D. Then we can learn the last three notes. C, D, G. Practice those. C, D, G. C, D, G. Try the whole line. C, D, C, D, G. Now you've got the whole song because the fourth line is the same as the second. So now you can put it all together, emphasizing each time that you need to practice this one a little bit more. There's a few things that will come up by ear. One is that high note at the end. Very many people will be familiar with the version that ends with a lower G. If you do, I would write that in. I would actually substitute it for you, and you'd be able to learn that low G a little bit ahead of schedule. There's also a slightly different rhythm in here at times. If you're bothered by what's written here and you really want to hear those ideas, then I would actually put them in. So if you can see my red pen here, I would insert an E note here. So we go D, D, E, C, D, E, F, E, C. We do it here again. D, E, F, E, D. And I could play this low G. C, D, G. That one we get to learn then ahead of schedule. Because you already want to hear it, it's easy to find and for me to teach you that this is this G an octave lower. Again, that's that inductive learning. What I call learning ahead of schedule, or learning out of order. You don't have to wait till you've learned to read this. You can use your knowledge of the song and how it sounds to find out that's the note I want, and okay, that's what it's going to look like. Those quick notes that we jammed in here, they have to be beamed. They're no longer quarter notes. If you hear them fast like that, they're eighth notes. The other change I made, I would probably write into your song. That little bit at the end where I lengthen one note and shorten the other, I would write that in by dotting your quarter and throwing an eighth note flag on the shorter note. I'm not going to go through that right now. Right now, just by ear, you can recognize if that's the rhythm you hear. You can go ahead and do it, but be aware you're not doing exactly what's written in the song, where it shows quarter, quarter, half. Or you're doing a slightly different rhythm that looks a little different. So don't be fooled into thinking what you're seeing there is da, 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 that little figure. We'd have to relearn that. Leave it at that for lesson 9, Ode to Joy. Next time, for certain, we'll get back to some of our chords. Have a great day.